Isambula vinaka, maloilele, talafalava, namaste, kiorana, kiora. I just want to begin with the small story that I grew up with. I grew up in a small Solomoni settlement in the outskirts of Suva City. My father was a boxer, a gold medalist, and a bronze medalist who represented Fiji in the South Pacific Games and the Commonwealth Games here in Christchurch as a bantamweight boxer. He was a supervisor in the chrome and plating industry within the Carpenters Industrial Group company. He was the first generation Solomon Islander to be born in Fiji. His father left the Solomon Islands at the age of 16 after he was recruited to go and to work in Fiji. In the early 1980s, Dad gave up his life to the Lord and was sent to St. John's, in which he studied a certificate in theology. So he left his work, he left the village, and was at St. John's for 3 years. After his study, he was ordained as deacon, and he became a curate at the Holy Trinity Cathedral under the dean, the Venerable Michael Bent, who is now in New Plymouth. After 3 years, he was ordained priest and was posted to St. Luke's in Lothalla Bay. And after 3 years after his ministry at Lothalla Bay at St. Luke's, he was further posted to another island in Vanuatu in the place called Lambasa, a cane-growing belt. It was here in Lambasa that my father taught me a few things, like setting up the altar, soaking the purificators, how to wash it, to get the Sunday sheets ready, to make sure that the people who were rostered for Sunday duties were given rosters. This is something he taught me so that I could help him, because there were a few places that he had to go to preside on a Sunday morning. Okay. He celebrated the Eucharist at St. Andrew's at 8 o'clock, at St. Thomas's, where I was tasked to set up the altar at 10 o'clock. And then he had to either go to Siberia. These are Indian mission districts. Siberia, Rambagh, and Wailevu, and Roketi. These are mission districts. He was tasked to go there once a month after the services at St. Thomas's. For a year that we were in Lambasa, this was the usual practice. It was me and my brothers. We were tasked to make sure that the church was clean. We were tasked to make sure that the Sunday altar was set. We were tasked to make sure that the rosters were given out and the proper names were written on the rosters. It was something that I committed myself to. I worked with Dad hand in hand. And to make the work light for him. It was my responsibility also as the eldest of the family and the only girl. But I had no idea this is where I would be after all these years. Now today is Pouhere Sunday. Po is a post. Here means to tie. The imagery is that of an anchor, a place where we could anchor our boat, our waka or wanga. This anchor helps us to, 1, develop partnership, 2, a covenant that is between us and God, us and the people we have developed that partnership or relationship with. So what is Te Pouhere? Te Pouhere is a Sunday put aside to celebrate the Constitution, which is the post, or the pole of the Anglican Church in Aotearoa, New Zealand, and Polynesia. The 1992 Constitution of the Church is a provision where it became a 3 equal partnership. Today in Aotearoa, New Zealand and Polynesia, we celebrate an identity of working alongside each other, praying with and for each other, and listening to one another. So who are the three equal partners? The three equal partners are Tikanga Maori, Tikanga Pākehā, and Tikanga Pacifica. Tikanga means the right way of doing things in one's own culture. So Tikanga Pākehā have their own right way of getting things done through the Pākehā culture, and this is the same with us, Tikanga Pacifica, and with Tikanga Maori. Now the Anglican Church of Aotearoa, New Zealand and Polynesia is one church in which each Tikanga is an equal partner in the decision-making process of the General Synod, and where each can exercise mission and ministry to God's people within the culture of each partner. There are some things we do together, like the General Synod, and other committees which are done across Tikanga, like the Liturgical Commission, Toru Youth Commission, Women's Studies. The Archival Committee are just a few that I can name, and some of which I have been part of as a representative of Tikanga Pacifica. But then there are many things we do separately. So Te Pouhere is about partnership. What does partnership mean? Partnership is about mission. It's about relationship, acceptance, involvement, commitment, trust, respect. It's an identity. It's about love, forgiveness, understanding, responsibilities, and sharing. And the list could go on. What does partnership involve? Partnership firstly involves us, people. It can be individual persons. It can be a group of people. Partnership involves acceptance must come before the relationship can develop. With acceptance comes trust. As Kathy Ross, a New Zealander, a missiologist, states, we trust each other with the key. If you like, we respect their cultural way of being and doing. Partnership also involves learning to give up control and sharing the responsibility. Partnership also involves readiness to accept those responsibilities, readiness to pay the price, and to serve a purpose. Partnership is about being engaged and having a relationship with each other. It is also knowing that sometimes there will be strengths and weaknesses revealed, but it is within the most vulnerable times that partners need to have some form of acceptance, need to be involved, have some sense of responsibility, intentional listening, and forgiveness. So the highlight of today's gospel from John 15 is on verse 16. You did not choose me, but I chose you. And then he emphasizes with, I appointed you to go. It is not we who chose God, but God in his grace approached us with a call and an offer made out of his love. Out of this passage, you and I can compile a list of things for which we are chosen and to which we are called. We are chosen for joy. However hard the Christian way is, there is always joy in doing the right thing. We are redeemed sinners, and within us is joy. How can any of us fail to be happy when we walk the ways of Jesus? We are chosen for love. We are sent out to love one another. Sometimes we feel that we are sent out to compete with one another or to quarrel with each other. Sometimes we say to people that they should love one another when we ourselves do not demonstrate that? Jesus is saying this to us because he showed this to us by dying on the cross for us. Paul's second letter to the Corinthians today speaks of, and he died for all, so that those who might live no longer for themselves, but for him who died and was raised for them. Thirdly, Jesus called us to be his friends. He tells his disciples, I do not call you servants or slaves anymore. He calls them friends. This is a wonderful offer. We are no longer a distant stranger, but a close friend. Te Pouhere is also about a covenant. A covenant, as we can see, is either a verb or a noun. It's what you define it. A verb meaning a contract, treaty, a bond, an agreement. It can be a noun when it is a pledge, a promise, a vow. Okay. These are just some of the words that we use every day now in everyday language. But a covenant is more. For me, it is sacred. Sacred in the sense that there is more to it than just the contract or any of the other words I have just used. Sacred because it is between you as an individual and God. The constitution between the three Tikanga Church or three Tikanga partners is a covenant that they have pledged to each other and to God. This makes us equal partners. But sometimes you know how human nature kicks in. There is a sense of dissatisfaction, disrespect. But with sacred partnership, there is always forgiveness, acceptance, recognition, and restoration. Today's gospel says we are partners. Slaves could never be partners. But as Jesus says, you are not my slaves. You are my partners. I have told you everything about what I am trying to do and why I am trying to do it. I've told you everything which God told me. In here, Jesus is sharing his mind to us and has opened his heart for us. The choice is ours. Can we refuse or accept our partnership with Christ in the work of mission? In the work of leading the world to God? Jesus chose us as ambassadors. I've chosen you, he said, to send you out. He did not choose us to live a life retired from the world, but to be his eyes, his ears, and his mouth to the world. Jesus chose us to come to him, to know him fully, and then to the world to make him known. That must be the daily pattern and rhythm of our lives. Te Pouhere is about us, our identity as a Three Tikanga Church. Our identity is about love, partnership, and the covenant we have made between ourselves as the Three Tikanga Church and our God. It is also about a calling to a commitment, about mission within our own tikanga, our own whānau, our own families. In reality, our commitment to the partnership that we share as a Three Tikanga Church was already there, well before we became a Three Tikanga Church, well before the Constitution came into place in 1992. Historically, when God sent out Bishop Selwyn into the Solomon Islands, The mustard seed that grew there was scattered into Fiji through our Solomoni ancestors, but lived on through the planters, and up until now, it's still through our own lives within the Solomoni settlements where the Anglican Church is. From the time the Diocese of Polynesia was established as a missionary diocese to one that is now an equal partner, there have been bishops, there have been priests, and people who have served and have helped the Diocese of Polynesia to what it is now. We have had the likes of Bishop Kempton. We have had the likes of John Tamahori from Tikanga Maori, who was in Tonga, who helped to set up St. Andrew's School. We have had the likes of the Venerable Michael Bent, just to name a few. So what does the readings of Pouhere Sunday mean for us today? 1, we are all called. 2, we are all equal, even though distinctly different from the other. 3, we are called to be partners for the mission of God. 4, we are called to be ambassadors. And lastly, we are called to be friends. There are times we need to be responsible for the other. There are times we need to just listen intently. What is the need? What is it? What is our mission? Listen intently with an open heart and an open mind. Our mission is to live up to the calling that God has for us. Let us pray. Lord, we thank you for calling us and for the calling you have for us. Help us to know you and to make you known. Fire us with your Spirit and empower us with your love. Amen.